Welcome everybody, and thank you for joining us this evening. We are recording this program and it'll be available on our website after the fact. I'm Amelia Layden, Curator of Collections and Exhibitions at Marquette University's Haggerty Museum of Art. Before I introduce our guests, I want to give a special thanks to the supporters who made the exhibition, See and Self, and the related programs possible. Presenting sponsor, the Lacey Sadoff Foundation, along with the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, Mary L. Knoll Fund, and the Emmett J. Dorr Endowment Fund. A quick reminder and a plug, the Hagerty is open daily and free to all. And on Saturday, October 16th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., we will be hosting a community day in celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. Please join us for that. And certainly don't miss the opportunity to see Magda's amazing work in person. See and Self will be on view through December 19th. Thank you to Dr. Tatiana Flores and to artist María Magdalena Campos-Pons for joining us this evening to discuss the themes of the exhibition, See and Self. Tatiana and Magda are going to talk for about a half hour, and then we will open the chat for audience questions at the end of the program. Please feel free to post questions in the chat during their discussion, and we will make sure to address those in the Q&A. Tatiana Flores is Professor of Art History and Latino and Caribbean Studies at Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey, and Director of the Rutgers Center for Women in the Arts and Humanities. She is the author of the award-winning volume, Mexico's Revolutionary Avant-Gardes, From Estudiantismo to 3030, and curator of the critically acclaimed exhibition, Relational Undercurrents, Contemporary Art of the Caribbean Archipelago, for the Museum of Latin American Art in Long Beach, California. She is currently president of the Association for the Study of the Arts of the Present and serves on the editorial boards of ASAP Journal, Latin American and Latinx Visual Culture, and Liquid Blackness. María Magdalena Campos-Pons is Cornelius Vanderbilt Endowed Chair of Fine Arts at Vanderbilt University. She combines and crosses diverse artistic practices, including photography, painting, sculpture, film, video, and performance. Her work addresses issues of history, memory, gender, religion, and identity. Directly informed by the traditions, rituals, and practices of her ancestors, her work is deeply autobiographical. Often using herself and her Afro-Cuban relatives as subjects, she creates historical narratives that illuminate the spirit of people and places, past and present, thereby rendering universal relevance from personal history. Campos-Pons has had solo exhibitions at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, the Indianapolis Museum of Art and the National Gallery of Canada, among other distinguished institutions. She has presented over 30 solo performances commissioned by institutions that include the Guggenheim Museum and the Smithsonian's National Portrait Gallery, and she has participated in major biennials across the globe. Her work is held in more than 30 museum collections, including the Whitney Museum of American Art, the Art Institute of Chicago, the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, the Museum of Modern Art, New York, the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, the Perez Art Museum, the Fogg Art Museum at Harvard University, and of course, the Haggerty Museum of Art at Marquette. Now, Tatiana and Magda, I will turn the program over to you. Thank you so much for being with us here tonight.
Thank you so much, Amelia, and thank you for the team at the Hagerty and to our audience. It's really such a pleasure to share this moment. It's always for me a pleasure to be in conversation with Magda, an artist that I consider a mentor, a friend, a mother. She's just truly a special person, as you will see today. And as you also heard from her bio, she's so busy. So it's, you know, we have these meetings and they're so intense. And you'll see what I mean about how wonderful she is as she gets started. But you've hopefully seen the exhibition and just how astounding her vision is. The idea for See and Self came from wishing to delve more deeply into Magda's work relating to the sea. It stemmed from this large project that Amelia mentioned titled Relational Undercurrents. That was a very large exhibition of Caribbean art. And at the time, I wanted to include a very large piece by Magda that was not, the loan was not approved, and I included a smaller piece, but I realized when Magda started working with her gallery, Wendy Norris, all of these works on the sea that I wasn't familiar with, and it was so exciting to delve into them and to bring this vision together. And I organized Magda's Solo Show Sea and Self, which is now expanded at the Hagerty for the Rutgers Center for the Women in Arts and Humanities, which I direct. And she was the 2019-2020 Estelle Leibowitz Visiting Artist. And so here it just looks so wonderful in your galleries, and I'm sorry that I'm not there in person, and I hope to have the opportunity to travel if conditions permit before December. So Magda, I think they're going to show the some slides to go with our talk. But so while we kind of get those going, I would love for you to talk to the audience and introduce us to the theme of the ocean in your work, to the sea. It is such a rich theme, and you deal with it through a lot of different lenses. So will you talk to us about it?
Well, of course. Thank you, Tatiana, for such a nice introduction, and Amelia for your introduction, and also for Wendy Norris Gallery for bringing my work to your attention as well, and for the collection as well. And then also to the Haggerty Museum in general. I am very grateful that this exhibition is there. And to repeat what Tatiana said, I hope that if conditions permit it, maybe I could stop by and see the show before it closed. There are so many corners from where to start talking about the conditions and the kind of a longitudinal and latitudinal lines that bring us to think about the ocean and to think about the sea. It is the expansive basin of what is the Caribbean is such a complex and beautiful territory of entanglements and histories and narrative. And I think that perhaps that kind of rich complexities of the region, at the same time with the incredible simplicity and magnificent presence of the geography of the ocean, they have been so important to my work. I do not spend enough work once I finish a piece to come back and look at them. And that is something that when Tatiana proposed the idea of seas and self, I myself discovered my own engagement with the question, the geography, the cultural implication, the meaning of the proximity to the ocean and the interiority of the ocean as part of the body itself. I have been talking lately about the idea that the most important sense of geography start and end within the body. That is a condition that sites the body within itself in relation to everything else, in which everything claims a sense of belonging, expansion, and sometimes despairs as well. So when I think about this idea of sea and self, I come to this moment of encounter, this moment of fusion, this moment of juxtaposition in which the human experience and the participation of nature take a level and take a condition that is so liminal, that is so in a space of circularity, that is one does not understand where ends and what begins or reverse. It is such a complexity and such a force, a turbulent force of moving to the interiority of both the body and the ocean, interiority of both the beauty and the anguish, interiority of both the incredible passion about sea and participating of that massive material that is the water, and the fear and the danger and all the things that come together. So almost every little piece, I say a little piece, some of them are very small, some of them are very large, in sea and self. And now you are seeing some of the pieces that are, each one of these pieces is 30 by 40 inches in this particular composition of 5 images. But in each one of them, I was trying to construct and to talk about such a complexity of narrative. The one in the top right, for instance, I call it, this piece in particular, un pedazo de mar, a chunk of the sea. And when I saw about that idea and I started conceiving the idea of what I mean with a chunk of the sea, how could anyone grab or embrace un pedazo de mar when the water always leaving you and falling to you and passing through you? And so, but that metaphor, that idea that one's trying to grab and to attach on oneself is, for me, perhaps one of the more complex in my own understanding of the meaning of belonging and the anguish and the depth of the understanding and the engagement of what the ocean represents and what is the meaning of being in a particular geography. What is the meaning to be a particular geography? Do I am myself un pedazo de mar? Do I am myself a chunk of ocean in my physicality, in my three-dimensionality? Could I maybe be seen by another set of eyes as just a walking water and just a walking piece of ocean? What does that mean? What does that mean to feel something so deeply and so profound? For me, the ocean and the proximity to the ocean always has been solace, a space of comfort, a space of a finding harmony in some way, finding the potentiality of extending myself into feeling some way, somehow. And I have been mentioned to people that is now, at this particular 3 years that I have lived in Nashville, the very first time in my life that I live in a city without an ocean. And that is a very kind of radical. And it's no wonder I think that my old that I dwell so much in all those images that I started doing when I was in Nashville that constitute un pedazo de mar, a chunk of the sea. I didn't think about it much until Tatiana started proposing the curatorial aspect of the piece, and I started thinking, how interesting. Yes, the ocean has always been fundamental, some way more abstracted, some way more obscure, but always have been there. When I am thinking in pieces from, let's say, 1991, 1992, or the early 90s, when I did the piece, The Seven Powers That Came by the Sea, there is no representation of the ocean. There is no water, there is no blue, there is no algae, there is no amphibious form, but it is this other vessel, this other architecture of the transport of the black body through the Atlantic. I think, of course, me growing in the period that it was my privilege to live and still living, there are many authors and many philosophical strains that were important for my work. Derek Walcott poetry, Stuart Hall philosophy, Edward Glissant, reflections, all of, I would say, from Cuba as well, Fernando Ortiz, analysis, all of those things have been very important for me. It has been poetry, and it has been a sort of a symbolic and metaphorical imagination and the role that the ocean and the sea perform and fulfill in the entire imaginario of the Afro-Cubans. And I would say not the Afro-Cuban, the Caribbean body, the Caribbean being, because it's not just, it's not pertinent only to the people of African descent. It's something that affects and constitutes selfhood, but to everyone that is around and surrounded and affected by this chunk of water that is the Caribbean. I don't know if you guys remember, but my first survey was entitled "Everything is Separated by Water, Including My Brain, My Heart, My Sex, My Home." And I could have called that piece too at the time that I did it. Everything is united by water, my brain, my heart, my sex, my home. I was, however, kind of reflecting in the particularity of the situation that happened in Cuba.
Martha, we
When
lost your image.
you lost my
Oh,
image.
here you are. Yeah, I see you again.
I needed to move location because my battery started to fault in me, but I don't have a light as good as in the previous place here. But in any case, I'm going to move here. Do you guys could see me here more or less? The
Yes.
light is radical because now I am away from the window. But I was thinking of that. I mean, I was thinking about, as I say, the large impact that the condition of the geography of the Caribbean create for everybody that is in the region, everybody that is in the area. So I have seen that this perhaps has been sort of the most important aspect of the, not only the threat of sink, but also visually, how do I have gone to approach my own metaphorical representation of what is the relation between sea and self. Sea and Self is a title that was proposed by Tatiana. And I found that was a very good understanding and a very clever kind of a wrapping around the many variants and the many tangles or entanglements of tentacles that my approach or representation of the ocean and the relation of being a woman from the Caribbean, a woman specifically from Cuba, because I am thinking that is too a relation with the Caribbean from the periphery of the continent, no? That have a different implication in some sort. Cuba and the island, Cuba is a little suspended part of territory that maybe was attached to many other places before, suddenly floating in the ocean like a lost body. And many times I feel myself with the same condition that I felt that Cuba found itself as a territory, suspending in the ocean with desire and need to belong and to be engaged and participating of other particular realms. And then the question of the impossibility, because he had been so profound, the way the one is anchored to those surrounded waters, to that insularity and the condition that create. So I think that maybe this is some good ideas to start the conversation for Tatiana and me.
And it's great that you mentioned Cuba, because in a lot of Cuban artists treat the water in Cuban iconography of contemporary art as a kind of prison. And so one of the themes of relational undercurrents was around the horizon, and it's specifically in Cuban art, the horizon becomes a barrier to movement because of the island's isolated condition in the geopolitics of the world and the region. And what I enjoy so much about your work relating to the sea is the way that there's, yes, separation, and there's grief, and there's this ancestral tragedy of the crossing of the Middle Passage, but there's also joy and hope and expanse. And so I wanted to linger a little bit too on the city of Matanzas, your home. As you mentioned, the ocean, you've always lived near the ocean. Talk to the public about Matanzas.
Well, thank you. Matanzas, the Athens of Cuba. So Matanzas, there are many reasons why Matanzas is so present in my mind and in my making, and also relevant for Cuban culture, and relevant to the condition of the ocean. Matanzas has the largest open bay in the whole littoral of Cuba. There is no other bay as deep and wide as Matanzas. And that made Matanzas a very important destination in the trade. When on the colonial time, Matanzas was the major harbor for entry of both labor which that means a slave trade, but also exporting and importing during the transaction of the sugar industry and elsewhere. So it was very, very important. It's still now, which is funny, Matanzas is the main port for the entry of oil to Cuba. So it fulfilled many economical important aspects, but also Matanzas was the province of Cuba with the larger population of Black or Afro-Cubans. At some point, the population of Black Cuban in Matanzas surpassed the population of white, and that is the time in which Cuba, a new city, grew and was founded, which was Cienfuegos, who was in the south of Cuba, a town founded to balance the census of the relation of Black population and white population. Matanzas was also the city who gave birth in Cuba to the first literary salon. It was the city who gave birth to the nation of the Cuban salon dance music, danzón. It was the city who gave birth to the vernacular street dance, rumba, which anybody that know Cuba, know rumba. All those scenes come from Matanzas. Matanzas was the city who gave Cuba, in general, the very first classic violinist. Matanzas was one of the first city who gave Cuba one of the more extraordinary theater, Teatro Sauto, and within all the great development of culture that today that took place in there, funded the newspaper Aurora, who was a subsidiary of a major relation with papers in US, and it was a city of poets, philosophers, doctors, lawyers, and for that reason was nicknamed the Athens of Cuba. So many important Cuban poets, Milanese, Heredia, many important figures come from Matanzas. And in relation to music, as I say, rumba, everybody that know mambo, Perez Prado, is a matancero. I mean, it's a long list. So Matanzas play, not only there was the center of the sugar industry in the time of the Cuban saccharocracia, but it was also the center of a great revival, or when we say expansion of Cuban culture outside Havana. So Matanzas hold in itself a sense of very cosmopolitan and very rich city on his own for two conditions. Have this incredible harbor, who was in the center of a trade and negotiation. When I lived in Boston for many years, the trade from Matanzas in Boston was the largest trade of sugar from the Caribbean to America. The first envoy of ice that ever go to the Caribbean come from Boston, Jamaica plane to Matanzas Harbor. So it's incredible sort of profound, important relations, but also at the same time, the Matanzas has all this geopolitical, cultural. It was at the same time the center of preservation and maintenance of Cuban Afro culture until this day. To really understand the depth and the continuum of Afro-Cuban traditions, if you don't go to Matanzas in Cuba, you don't get the real picture. I am not saying that you don't get a good picture in Havana, but I say you're missing something fundamental that is not to be forgotten. So it's a very important, not to add to that, the Matanzas was then the center of all the other geopolitical turmoil. Bay of Pig was in Matanzas. The first group of people that go into exile in Camarioca, that is Matanzas. And Matanzas has at the same time the largest touristic resort in Cuba, Varadero Beach, which is one of the most gorgeous stretch of ocean any place in the planet. And that ocean and that stretch of water is one in which I spent privileged so many time of my life when I was young, and I was it left a very profound impact in the mind, in the imagination. I still, anytime that I come back to Cuba and I come back to Matanzas, I have hard time believing that the ocean there is as beautiful as it is. And it's real. You say, is this real? Is this possible? And then one say, yes, it's real. It's possible. But I'm going to be asked and forgiven for my excessive chauvinism. But it's something valuable and that is has impacted me profound. And I think that is in the work, some way, somehow.
Let's look at the work together for a bit. And can we turn to the works in chronological order? So for the 1997 piece, and I just really want you to lead us through in your words. We did kind of an interview around the work, and it's never enough. You need to hear it from Magda's lips. So you mentioned you did a piece in 1990, 91, The 12 Powers Come by the Sea, which was a performance piece, and it really evoked the ocean as cemetery. But now in 1997, this piece, which was acquired by Crystal Bridges. Tell us what you were thinking here.
So I in the time in which I made these pieces, I was thinking and structuring my photographic projects, and I still do that, in a way in which the narrative is not only with the image, but I use the formalization of the piece itself, triptych, addicted, 4, 5, 6 compositions, and also the directionality, vertical, horizontal, all of that, in a very important way to talk about the idea. So I was thinking here of the ocean and the mother ocean, the figure of Yamaya, in a way, and I'm using a number of small symbols. She had a gingham dress that is black, white and blue, and a gingham dress is a fabric that is used all the time in celebration of Yamaya. And and she have a little packet, like she's holding like babies, but she's holding a small vessels, tiny little vessels that I carve out of balsa wood. And the only reason that I mention these details, because when I construct the photograph, I think of all these old elements. And the fact that those pieces were carved in balsa wood, which is a wood that really could float very easily, and they have the buoyancy of being the ocean, I use it as a symbol. And then in the hair of the figure, you're going to see number 7 repeat many times. There are 7 ribbons around the necklace of the simple dress, and there are 7 ribbons in the bottom piece, in the bottom frame, and the bottom frame, and it's both a reference of the horizontality, the line of the horizon, but also a possible reference to the idea of the ocean and the sea. In the top, I used just the material, gingham, the same material that she's using in the dress, but it have a construction of a silhouette of a simple shack, a simple shelter, and it's all held together with little mud pins. So mud pins appear again in the bottom frame when the ocean is indicated on the horizon, and in the shed in the top, but also in the hair. So the entire hairdo of the figure is almost like creating a map and creating these little islands that are separated by blue lines. I would say current of water, current of river. So in this piece, I am thinking about sort of a totemic representation and homage to Yamaya. It's not one single time that I have done this. This is an image that is recurrent for me, that is that come again, and that is always present in my mind. And Yamaya is both the mother of the ocean, but the mother of everything, and also is a refuge and security. Is both a symbol of fertility maternity, but also host, a gatherer, a place in which you're going to find always nourishment, and you're always to find always replenishing. And that is what I put in the top two, this little symbol of home, because to Yamaya, you always could return. And in Yamaya, the doors are always open. From Yamaya, you always going to feel embrace. And that is important.
So beautiful. Can we talk about the nesting? That's the piece that's now in the Hagerty collection. So I'm sure that the public wants to hear about the very lucky acquisition.
Well, I will say that yes, that the Hagerty is very lucky acquisition. And honestly, I was not ready to sell that piece at all, at all, at all, at all. I was ready to be in debt and not sell that piece. I really, because that is a piece that I wanted to return. I wanted to live with that piece and see it and question myself. And so so everything is separated by water. They have this image of the body sliced in the middle, the body separated, and this column of water crossing by. So in the nesting, I went back to this, but what I do here was this idea of from the ocean, from the water to in and out. And I play here with the dimension of the hair and the condition of the, what I called before, this expansive quality of the body. So the hair itself become horizon, become embrace, becomes entanglement, and becomes at the same time a nest. And I move in the piece from the conversation just of the ocean to the conversation of another dimension of nature. And in this case, it was about birds and this idea of nesting. And I thinking that it's always a very close connection with birds and nesting, migration, exile, living, returning. So for me, the birds, it is a symbol of an incredible a figure, an incredible being, always in a transient condition in which, with regularity, they know how to return to the point from when they depart. So nesting, this particular piece, is so much about drawing in photography, sculpting in photography, constructing with image in which, yes, some element of veracity are present, but everything here is living to metaphor and to the imagination. So I think that these are some of the most important elements. Of course, one of the things that I was exciting and happy when I made this piece, this is very early in the this is very early in the turn of the century. I am sculpting and drawing in the photograph with real hair, and the dimension in which all this happened. I knew that it was so rare and it was so difficult to make people in some way responding. I am doing things that seems to some extent illogical or surreal. And in the moment that I was doing this piece, I don't think there was so much interesting in surrealism in that way. But I knew and I sensed it, that something what happened in this piece that was very important to me to put attention and to stay on it, to try to understand in that vision, in that idea, to sculpt hair in a free form outside the body, and let it be form, and let it be drawing, and let it be a spatial relation of scenes, and let it be a material that play both with identity and formalism in equal parts, was very important. And that's what the piece was relevant for me, and that's what I saw. I don't want to, I didn't want to get rid of it. I didn't have another one to stay with me. But in any case, I am happy that you guys have it, and I am happy that you guys have the opportunity to do study and to keep it and preserve it, and to allow me to visit time to time.
I'm really happy too. It's such, and also just in the process of putting this exhibition together, finding the archive of ocean works, and that's what I talk about in the essay. And I compiled as many images as I could, but I want to make sure that I didn't miss any. So the next one, can we move to Constellation? I think that's the next one on the PowerPoint. This one is so incredible. And this one, there's a version or the same one in the Smithsonian American Art Museum, correct?
Correct. But also it is, yes. And nesting is a version, and one is at the Museum of Fine Art of Boston.
So talk to us about Constellation.
Well, I this is when I feel that how could one be suspended between a sky and ocean? How could we want suspended in this, a sense of a relation of depth and unknown, and vastity of form and vastity of feeling. One of the things that I really push in that piece in photography is that I wanted to create a sense of wetness. I wanted to create a sense of wet material and wet feeling in a piece in which I was not photographing the ocean. I was not photographing. This is all like I say, and I think that maybe it's important to say that I consider all my photographs constructed photograph, so they are performative photograph. I create an entire set of prerogative stages in some way. I create installation experiences in the studio, and then I am going like a scavenger, taking all the fragments that I need to tell my story. And in this piece, in this particular piece, that is very important. They have this centered, centrifugal, powerful energy, and then there are these other materials and feelings of a space that dissipate and that become far away or nearby, and the energy and the materiality of it could be both algae, it could be a root, it could be a stars, it could be a universe, it could be a galaxy, but it exists in between. And I think that Constellation, many of them, but so you look very careful, you're going to see my hair twice in the picture, no? And it's anchored all this dynamic of hair is stories, and hair becoming the entanglement and the density of the wave and the ocean and the sky and the depth of feeling of this dynamic between scenes. That's what I love about that piece, and I am so excited about that piece. I wanted to do like 4 of them. I have another one that I have another sketch that I never have done it, and the sketch for the piece, because I always drew this image in a smaller sketches before I make the photograph, is in the collection of the Harvard Museum. And I was visiting the collection recently and say, oh, I need to come back to the studio and do this piece that I never actually managed and never went to do it in the site that I wanted. And you work in one scene and then you move to another. But I am looking at this piece now, Tatiana, as we are talking, and I am seeing so much in this piece about the work that I have right now hanging in a gallery in Berlin. And it's totally something different, but I think that there's something about this feeling and the energy and the spirit, because it's about territories that are so big and so expansive. And that is the feeling of the ocean. That is the feeling of the sea. It's only so little that we access to see. It's only so little that we actually witness or participate. And there is an incredible topography of landscape that is always hidden from our side. And I feel that is very important, and I that stayed with me, and I think that I am still exploring those dynamics.
No, for sure. And you also do so in the piece, She Always Knew of the Space in Between. So let's go
Oh my
to that
God,
one.
yes. Oh
Yeah,
my God, yes.
which was so exciting because I saw this piece in the studio as you were making it, and it was just so exciting to watch it come alive. And I don't think that we have you, on the record speaking about it. So tell us about this one, and it's the connection is clear, but it is resolved so differently.
Well, I mean, definitely this is our many universes in one. I mean, many universes in one. But I'm going to start for the perhaps less visible but very important for me. In the second panel from the left, in the horizon, standing in the horizon, it is small little figure, tiny little figure, and it's a little bit of yellow around that figure. And it's a old woman. It's an old woman in a tiny proportion, and she have a shawl, and the shawl is covered with a peacock feather. And it's my mother. It's my mother. And I saw her looking at the ocean, not the ocean of the Caribbean, actually, the North Atlantic, in a very removed island in the North Atlantic in America. And I took that photo of her, and the image of her with the blue shawl, looking, giving back to me and looking to the ocean. And me thinking that when the first time that she come to that island, she asked me, do you like the color of this water? Because the water were very different in the kind of shade of blue that we experience in the Caribbean. And then we have a long conversation about how did I came to actually love to the water of the North Atlantic. And she is the one that always knew the space in between. She is the one that always knew the meaning of a negotiating, the meaning of centering oneself in the conditions and the situations and the places that we get to be and explore. And that's the reason that I put these two African figures in the center of the composition. And because I was thinking that the dimension, the present of the ancestral energies and the ancestral forces and the ancestral powers that reside within the petite women in my family who were monumental, no? And I wanted to bring that relation, and I had never talked about this, as you say. This is the first time that I talk about that in relation to a scale and proportion. I made my mom, who was very petite, even petite than me, but it was such a monumental woman in her vision, her perception. How do she sell us in the war to go and do things? And I wanted to put her there like a clairvoyant, like a decipher of all to come and all that could be and all that will be. That is she looking in the horizon to the extensive sky in front, there is no constellation, no possibility of formation of being, energy, force that she wasn't aware already of. And that kind of a transcendental and beautiful, pure kind of simplicity of knowledge that I experienced and took from my women in my family is something that sustained me and pushed me and propelled me. In my most desperate moment, I just need to remember one or two things that my mother told me to pull myself together. And that this piece is an entire homage to her, and it's an entire song to her, because she knew the space in between. There is no mystery. There is no sin that was there that was not possible to touch or conquer or access, because the fundamentals, the central energies, some way, somehow, has been inscribed in the universe. The shards are set. Is just to navigate through it, be able to decode what the information says.
What an amazing homage. Thank you for that really poetic reading of the work. And I think we're probably ready to move on to questions, right, Amelia?
Could I say that I love the piece, looking already now?
And also just the way that the presentation that the museum put together is just so lovely. It really brings everything together.
And it's, it's so big. I am seeing it in my phone, but it's I spent actually an incredible amount of hours and time toiling in that piece. And I am very happy. I'm very pleased with this display. I am very, very pleased with that display. I'm very pleased, very sweet, very happy. I hope that the public, they have visited the piece itself, this exhibition, and the people that are listening to us today maybe agree with me.
Thank you, Hagerty.
Yeah, thank you both. Thank you both for your this amazing conversation. We do have a few questions. One is a very specific question. What brought you to Nashville? I can answer that, but I want you to answer that, Magda.
Amelia, you could answer for me, please. I want to hear you.
Well, you were offered the amazing chair of the Fine Arts Department at Vanderbilt University. So maybe there were other reasons. That's the answer that I know.
Well, no, that was that. And also the other thing that would bring me to Vanderbilt, they were so consistent. They invited me in 2011 and they didn't let me get out of the rope for like 7 years, reminding me, please come, would you come? So I saw that was a very important call. And I must tell you, I am extraordinarily happy that I made that move. And the work that they are allowing me to do here is remarkable. And I am very pleased with everything that is happened in my position and the thing that I have been able to launch such engine for art, democracy, and justice, EADJ, a triennial of art that is going to come in 2023, and many other things. So being in Nashville and being in this part of the world, with the history of this region and with the kind of circumstances we are living at this moment is very meaningful to me. And I am very, very privileged, and it required a incredible engagement, but it's also the most beautiful thing that I could have done at this moment. So thank you, Vanderbilt, and thank you, Nashville, for embracing me.
I'm so glad that you mentioned the Engine for Art and Democracy. I actually would love for you to talk a little bit more about that, just for the folks that are with us, because so much of that program is available in a virtual format, and it's really a remarkable program that you've put together. I did see one additional question. It's a question about Yamaya and the relationship of Yamaya and Mimi Wata. Are they the same?
I believe that yes, there is a relation between both of them. Both are entities and energies, spiritual goddess of the water and ocean, and mother figures, from my understanding. And I think leaders, warriors in the religion and in the pantheon of Yoruba tradition. And I think that the relation, there are many ways that Yoruba expanded through the Caribbean and the Americas. So if you go to Haiti, Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru, these are all sites in which Afro African descendants settle and have very profound impact, you're going to see same ideas with many different variations. And in Brazil, candomblé is very important. In Haiti, voodoo is very important and have different practices and different methodologies, but the system have connections that bring it together. So I suppose I am assuming that yes, without me being a specialist.
Thanks, Magda. A question for me to both of you, Tatiana and Magda, actually, is about the relationship of poetry to the exhibition. It really weaves its way through the exhibition. You quote Derek Walcott and Edwidge Dandicott, and I think just coming at this from the perspective of being on, a campus where we work in a very interdisciplinary way, it's been so rewarding to incorporate some of those amazing Caribbean poets. And if you could just both talk about, Tatiana, just in when you were kind of thinking through the thesis of the exhibition, and Magda, how, you've mentioned to me before how poetry and music are so essential to how you materialize and visualize these ideas. I'd just love to hear more from both of you on that.
Thank you for that beautiful question. I'll go first, Magda, and then you go. I have my first approximation to Caribbean art was through the poetry of Derek Walcott. And I read him, I wrote my thesis on him as an undergraduate. I was a comparative literature major, and I wrote a thesis on his epic poem, Omeros. And when I started engaging with the visual art of the Caribbean, and this is in the early 90s when I was in college, or mid 90s, that it wasn't so easy to find information on Caribbean art. It was just not readily available. Artists were really invisible in the consciousness, at least in kind of mainstream spaces. And so one of the things that I love about Caribbean poetry is that these authors, Glissant and Kamau Brathwaite from Barbados, they were looking to unite the region, and finding, in one of the very famous quotes by Brathwaite is, "The unity is submarine." The idea that, yes, there are connections, but that the Caribbean itself is a very fragmented space, especially island to island. And so what I sought to do with this bigger exhibition, Relational Undercurrents, was to create that unity, but through a visual narrative and not the poetry narrative. And because what I was arguing was that the unity not only is there, but is more visible when you have a visual language rather than the different kind of verbal languages, French and Spanish and English and Dutch and Papiamento and Creole in the region. There are so many languages. So that is part of my interest in poetry. But as you see, Magda herself is a poet, both verbal and, of course, visual.
Oh my God, what could I say now? The only thing that I want to say, besides I love poetry, I go to bed every night with poets, I wake up with poets and philosophers as well. But I want to propose, rather than come back to what Tatiana, you say so beautifully and so wonderful, is the following. And in thinking of the future, in thinking of what continuing growth and development and continuing process of circularity and shifting and changing and adaptations, I think of the Caribbean as a seminal place, as a place in which climate change shift and change and put us in the age of many things. The Caribbean has always been in the age. The Caribbean have always been underwater. The Caribbean have always been almost half suffocated, but sin that could not stand, but has survived. And I love, and I am thinking that the Caribbean will be one of these places in which many people will need to come to learn to survive as this planet change. That we in the Caribbean and the people of the Caribbean, from the seminal time to now, are going to be in the center of what the future holds. That's what I'm thinking.
Thank you, Magda. One more question from me for both of you, and then I think we can probably close the program unless other folks want to chime in on the chat. But you mentioned this idea of fragmentation in your work, and I think you spoke really beautifully about the kind of material fragmentation, the way that you're making diptychs and triptychs, and how that is functioning materially. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about your thoughts on fragmentation in terms of the way it relates to your identity, your experience of living in diaspora, this idea of, perhaps being here and there and divided.
Well, I mean, I have said, I think that is a piece that I made in 1991 or 1990 when I was living in Canada. And the piece was part of an exhibition that was entitled A Woman at the Border. And I think that the piece is now in the collection of Howard Farbert in New York. And the piece is titled, I Am a Fountain. Back to water, back to maybe a little bit of liquid from the ocean turned into a fountain. But what is important about that piece, that is the body or fragmented, that is lips, breast, brain, vagina, anus, eyes, and all those fragments were the fountain of all kind of different things: tears, milk, blood, shit, ideas. And I think that my entire overview is a conversation with fragmentation of experience. It's a conversation with negotiating parts that are being put apart and that are forced for being, for exist, to repair themselves. So my entire overview is, I think, a project of repair. I have been repairing separated parts and broken parts to make a new of something value or something meaningful. Repair is in the center of my work.
That's amazing. Thank you, Magda. I don't see any additional questions. Tatiana, if you have any final words or thoughts or questions, I invite you to go ahead and ask them. Otherwise, I think we can conclude the program with just such heartfelt thanks to both of you, for Magda for sharing your work, Tatiana for sharing your scholarship, and for everybody for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
I do want to end with a quote by Derek Walcott, which just connects so beautifully. And it's actually a quote that's written on the map, which is a work of art from the exhibition by Jean-Ulrich Deser, who's a Haitian American artist who's based in Berlin. But the quote reads, and it's from Derek Walcott: "Break a vase, and the love that reassembles the fragments is stronger than the love which took its symmetry for granted when it was whole." And that's
Send me that phrase. I am using it.
I'll put it in the chat, but I'll send it to you as well. It is truly such a, I mean, Walcott, what a master of language. Yeah. So I'm so excited that the exhibition is going to engage the different publics at Marquette, and yeah, I enjoyed it very much when it was at Rutgers, and now you have that opportunity, and I can't thank you enough, and of the privilege of working with Magda and of getting to know you, Amelia, and your team. I wish it was in person, but it's just really endearing to be here all together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you both, and good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Amelia. Bye.
Bye.